podcast about comics, storytelling, and art. I'm Leslie, and this is Sloane.
Hello.
And we are continuing with some programming we are especially doing for Vancouver Comic Arts Festival. Due to COVID-19, all the comics festivals that were supposed to happen in May have been canceled. So if you want to check out more digital programming, you can check out the hashtag CanCaf, which is a group effort promoting programming and events from comic festivals across Canada. And today we have a very special guest. We are interviewing Junko Mizuno. Junko is a self-taught artist born in Tokyo and recognized for her unique visual iconography of powerful and often sexy women. Although her art refuses to be categorized, much of it is based on Japanese pop culture from the 70s and 80s, with sources of her inspiration stemming from fetish art, folk art, religious art, psychedelic art, pinup art, advertising art, vintage toys, fashion, comics, food, nature, movies, TV shows, and video games. Almost everything that surrounds her. She's currently residing in San Francisco and is working on new comics, paintings, illustrations, and product designs ranging from toy figures to t-shirts. Her work has been featured in stores, museums, and fine art galleries around the world. So yay. Thank you for joining us, Junko.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yay. So, how is quarantine treating you so far?
It's been, working at home is totally normal for most artists. But for the first 2 weeks or so, I was freaking out because my visa was expiring at the end of March.
Oh no.
So I had to figure out what to do. I had already booked my flight to Japan to renew my visa, but I had to cancel it. And I also had to file for extension for my visa. But the situation kept changing. They kept changing all the travel restrictions and stuff. So I was losing sleep and I was panicking. But now but my visa was, my attorney helped me to extend my visa. So I'm finally focusing on my work. And I'm lucky I have a lot of works to do. So yeah, I've been really productive for the last 3 weeks or so. I don't know.
Oh, nice.
I lost track of the time. I don't know how long it has passed.
I would say it's been about 2 months, right? At this point. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
It's good that you're back working and not stressing out about visa situation.
It feels strange also. I just try not to think too much about the future, So I can't say I'm not stressed at all because it's very uncertain, but still I'm lucky I have some jobs to work on right now.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you're working on?
I'm working on I just finished designing my face masks, like
cool.
all the other artists are doing, and I've been thinking about opening my own artist shop, like on demand printing thing. So I thought it would be a good chance to start doing it right now because I can make face masks. So I just finished it. And I was going to upload the designs today, but I had the problem with the internet connection. So I'm trying to solve it right now. But I'm also working on a character design jobs. It's still I can't give you the details right now, but it's a really good job and it's fun. And I have a solo show coming up. It was supposed to happen in June, but we had to postpone. It's gonna happen in October. It's a food-themed show, and I'm working on the paintings too. And I have so many other projects. I don't even know what I'm doing.
That sounds really fun.
Yeah, a lot of different types of projects too, so that's nice.
Yeah, I'm also planning to do a new comic for the first time in a long time later this
Ooh.
year. So I'm trying to think about the stories and stuff.
Ooh, that's cool. Very exciting.
I'm scared too because I haven't done comics for a long time.
Oh yeah.
It's a very different thing.
Yeah. Yeah, me and Leslie had so much fun reading Pelu and Pure Trance and looking through your coloring book.
Oh, thank you.
It was really fun to get into.
Yeah, I think I read Pure Trance a while ago, like when I was a teenager, so it's been very like, 15 years or so. So I didn't remember as much as I thought I did, and it was interesting to see like how much more I got from it this time.
Mm-hmm.
Um just like a lot more like dark themes, and it wasn't like it made more sense to me now. Which is
Yeah, I was definitely like I also remember reading Pure Trance and like being overwhelmed by your art style, but
Mhm.
then this time around I had more patience to like read everything very thoroughly and yeah, I was like, "Oh my God, this is terrifying." This is so terrifying. And then same with Pelu, which I have never read before. I was
oh
also
yeah.
like it was so jarring. I was not prepared for the story of
Pelu
Pelu.
was so good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Like I was talking to Sloane about it earlier. I was texting her and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that just happened!"
Yeah.
Yeah, thank
Gosh.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Pure Trance is like 20 years old now,
Hmm.
and I think a lot of people read it when they were younger, like teenagers, and
Mm-hmm.
they just get shocked at the style of my art, or
Hmm.
it's natural for me because I grew up reading like cute Japanese manga,
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
but I also liked horror comics,
Mm-hmm.
and also I like movies like Blade Runner,
Hmm.
Yes.
or
Mm-hmm.
things with a lot of actions or blood and stuff like that. So it's totally natural for me. I'm not trying to make it shocking by mixing the cuteness and terrible things. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
putting all the things I like into my work. But for
Mm-hmm.
younger people, they maybe not only younger people, for the people who first see my work, they just think it's like edgy cute, creepy
Mm-hmm.
cute, gothic
Hmm.
cute or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I put a lot of things. I don't even think it's a dark story. It does
Hmm.
have darkness, but it also has a lot of funny moments and different things,
Mm-hmm.
lots of food.
Yeah.
So it's just me. It's just uh, I'm a person like that. I have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of weird things going on in my head. so, so it's
Yeah.
interesting if people read it a couple of times and find out about different things. You know, uh, not just being shocked.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so dense with like ideas about the future and like body image and relationships. Like there's so much going on. It's like extremely rich.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Like I think it's just so interesting that you you like feel comfortable touching on so many different topics, like mature concepts and like very like adult themes, just because I
Hmm.
feel like a lot of people here making comics struggle with that. Like they kind of want to make everything less dark if anything is,
Oh.
and I feel like they're always kind of like, oh, I can't like express myself in this certain way, or like show these kinds of themes, or like show this going on, just because someone might like read it and not like it, or like or something like that. So it's really cool to see you just be so free and like yourself in your comics.
That's great to hear. Like, freedom is very important for me. I, I really want to do, I've been trying to put myself into the situation where I can do whatever I want to.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it doesn't work. I have clients that tell me not to do this or not to do that. But still, for my comics and my paintings, I can do whatever I want to. And I don't know. I understand some people don't want to see dark stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
there are so many happy things in the world. If you want to just to be happy watching movies or animations,
Yeah.
And also, if I make my stories just happy, it doesn't feel real to me. It feels like I'm not being myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know there are happy things, but also horrible things.
Mm-hmm.
And also, everything can be funny sometimes.
Yeah.
if you look at things from a different perspective. So I'm just being natural in my comic and paintings.
That's cool. I guess I kind of want to back up a little bit, and this is like the most basic question ever, but I'm still interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
And Leslie
Okay.
kind of listed it, but I'm interested in how you like came to comics, like what were some formative inspirations, and like maybe what were some early attempts at you making art and comics.
Okay. I was drawing all my life. I started drawing when I was 2 or 3, and I remember I already wanted to become a professional comic artist when I was 3. But it was natural for little girls around that time in the early 70s. In
Mm-hmm.
Japan, there were a lot of comic magazines for little kids.
Mm-hmm.
So becoming a comic artist was like becoming a celebrity. What I mean?
Yeah.
There were so many famous artists, both male and females, and if you read the girls' comic magazines, sometimes they show the everyday life of comic artists,
Mm-hmm.
and they're busy, but they are popular. They get letters from fans and gifts from fans.
That's the
and
dream.
yeah, and sometimes it's fantasized. Like, look at the artist. She lives in a fantasy world.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of thing, because it's a magazine for little girls. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I don't know. So there were so many girls who was dreaming about becoming a comic artist.
Mm-hmm.
It was like becoming like a princess or something. But I got a little bit too much into it compared to other girls. So I was always drawing. My mother was worried about me. But I have an older sister,
Mm-hmm.
and she also liked to draw. So we were always drawing, and I started making zines, like
Mm-hmm.
magazines, my own magazines with comics and fake recipes, fake ads. I even made a catalog of my characters,
Oh, nice.
Wow.
so my sister can order the merchandise. So I also made money out of paper and handed it to my sister and asked her to
That's
come
awesome.
buy my magazine
That's
and
really
order
funny.
order merchandise. And when I get an order from my sister, I will make the merchandise out of paper or clay. And
Wow.
So I'm basically doing the same thing since I was a kid and make stuff and sell it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I remember I sent my comic to one of the publishers
Mm-hmm.
of girls' comic magazine when I was 10 or 11. And I don't know how to explain it. Each girl's comic magazine had kind of like a comic school. It was called comic school. It was just a section inside of the magazine where the readers can send their own original comics, and the editors would read it, and if it's good, they put it in the magazine, or even you can become a professional.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so many Japanese comic artists became professional that way. They just send the comics, and when the editor finds that you're really talented, they start paying you and also giving you advice, and it's like how do you say, the editors will educate you.
Oh, that's cool.
And make you a comic artist. I think that's the very common way to become a professional in Japan.
That's so cool.
And it was normal for some teenage girls to become a professional. There were some famous comic artists who started as a professional when they were 15 or 16.
Wow.
It was pretty normal back in
Do
the
you
70s
remember?
and 80s.
Do you remember which comics magazine you submitted to?
I think it was Ribbon.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So one of the most famous
Yeah, Ribbon.
shoujo magazines.
Ribbon. Ribbon. That's how you say it in
That's so
Japanese.
cool.
Yeah, so I was 10 or 11 and I really hated school. I hated going to school. So I thought maybe if I become a professional comic artist, maybe I can quit school. Yeah, so I sent my comic twice maybe. And I got replies from the editor, and he was really nice. He said good things about my comic, and keep working, keep up the work and stuff like that. But I was 10 or 11, so of course I couldn't get a job from him.
You're like, you're not gonna hire me?
Yeah,
This is exactly what you publish already. Like, why can't you just hire me so I can quit school?
right. So I think the second time I sent my comic was when I was 12 or 13, and I was a really dramatic girl, and I was so shocked I couldn't get a job, and I decided I didn't have the talent in making stories, but still I wanted to make a living by doing art. So I thought maybe I should become an illustrator. So until that time, I was just reading comics, and I was just enjoying like regular stuff for kids, like Hello Kitty, toys for kids. But after that, I started exploring so many other art forms. I remember I got so much into Aubrey Beardsley. Do you know
Oh,
him?
yeah, I love
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, I was copying its style when I was 13 or 14. And so I think you can still see the influence from him. He was one of the biggest influence on art.
A lot of
And you
like
know,
flowers and
yeah.
heavy blacks.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool.
And there was no internet at that time, so I would go to libraries or bookstores and looked up art books. But I don't know, I got into weird things like fetish art, Eric Stanton, and stuff like that when I was 15 or 16. I don't know, I was a weird girl. I just kept copying. But I also liked, I still liked the regular girls comics. And also I loved Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
Yeah, when Sailor Moon came out, I was already 18 or 19, and I was working at a movie theater. And the first Sailor Moon movie was a big hit, and I was taking tickets and selling merchandise of Sailor Moon at the movie theater. And the movie was great, and I remembered how fun it used to be to create characters and make stories. And it made me want to get back to making comics. But now I have so many other influences inside of me other than just manga. So I mixed everything and made a zine, very thin zine, like 10 pages. But it was like the one I used to make as a kid. It had a short comic and fake ad for like adult toys and stuff like that. Yeah, and I had my friend sell it at their shop. They had a store in Harajuku, and they were selling like American vintage toys and vintage clothing. But also they were selling a little bit of artists' zines and some handmade accessories and stuff. So I asked them to sell my zines there. And
It's kind of
there
like
was,
a mixed boutique type situation.
yeah, exactly. And one time it was like a fashion and music magazine. They wanted to cover the store, so they came to the store, and the editor found out my zine, and she wanted to give me jobs in the magazine. So that's the first time when I finally got the real job in the magazine.
That's so cool.
And yeah, and I was like 22 or 23. And it was right after the bubble economy. So it was still good. The economy was still good. So I was lucky. I got a lot of different jobs from the people who saw the comic in the magazine. So
That's awesome.
so for Pure Trance, that was first serialized in a CD booklet, which is very unusual. But it was also from the magazine. Yeah, they had an ad for the CD, the techno CD series in the magazine. So they wanted me to just do the cover art first. But they also liked the comic and came up with the idea to do a story. printed in the booklet. And then when the CD series was over, I added a lot of pages and made it into a book.
That's cool. Was the concept something that you discussed with like the company that hired you, or was it all you, or how did that come up, or how did you come up with the concept?
Sorry, I couldn't hear the first part.
So was like the story behind Pure Trance all you, or was it like a collaboration with like the company that hired you, or how did the
It was
concept come to
basically
be?
so the guy I was working with at the record company, he was into comics, but he was not an artist. He just liked comics, and since it's for a techno compilation CD series, he wanted me to do a story that is like sci-fi but also very primitive. Like it's like Blade Runner and maybe Flintstones or something. You know what I mean? Because techno music is modern, but also it feels like
like primal,
yeah,
high energy,
like ritual music kind of thing. So that's what he wanted me to do. But I don't remember much about it. I was still very young. And I remember when the publisher decided to make it into a book, I thought it might be it was my first time making a book, but I also thought it might be my last book, because you never know if it would sell. So I remember I put all the things I wanted to do into that one story. That's why it's so dense. It's crazy.
That's cool. Like, what was your process with putting the story together? Did you like write out scripts, or did you kind of just draw your way through it?
Yeah, I usually write down. I mean, I start with thinking, coming up with the idea when I was walking or when I'm eating or whenever. And I put the ideas, I write it down. I mean, I put it in my a note app, and then I start making stories, like writing script. But it's not really a script. It's only I can understand it. Sometimes I don't even understand it, when it's written long time ago.
Yeah.
And I look at my notes and what does it mean? But basically I write down scripts and then try to think about how to divide, like, I put this part into one page or 2 pages, or what I mean. You have to divide the stories into pages,
right?
And then I do I always forget the name. What was the name? Sorry, I'm trying to remember. It's like the rough
kind of like the sketches, the thumbnails.
No, not the sketches. I do the sketches when I'm coming up with ideas, but after writing after the script is done, it's storyboard. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, this word is very difficult for me to remember all the time. In Japanese, it's called name. It's like a name, but I don't know why it's called name in Japanese. But
Yeah.
it's totally different storyboard.
Yeah, it's hard to remember.
Yeah, I'm writing it down right now. So yeah, I'm gonna do the storyboard and then start, drawing on paper.
Nice. Is there any like specific like routines to how you go through like inking and drawing? Like, do you have like favorite tools? Do you like to listen to music, or do you need like complete silence to work?
When I'm working on the script and storyboard, I usually like to do it in the complete silence. I get distracted. But when I'm coming up with ideas, I walk around with music sometimes. But when I'm working on the drawing, inking, or sketching, it depends. Sometimes I listen to the music. Sometimes I listen to the radio, like Japanese radio. But it depends. I usually don't like silence. It's only when I'm working on the script and storyboard.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but walking is very important for me. I come up with new ideas when I'm walking.
Do you also read like other comics while you're coming up with stories, or do you find that like it influences you too much or anything, or neutral? Are you neutral about it?
I used to read more comics when I was younger. Recently, I get distracted. I'm so busy, so it's so really hard for me to follow the story. I don't know. Same as video games. I can only do very simple like puzzle games or something. If I start doing like the real game, I I get too much into it and forget about the work. But for comics, I don't know. I haven't read much comics recently, but I have some of my favorites in my bookshelf. But it's an old.
To know your favorites.
Yeah, it's an old ones, usually. So sometimes I look at it to get motivated. But I also like to check out zines by younger artists because it reminds me of the fun to be totally free and do whatever I want to. Some of them are really crazy. I like it, and sometimes I get jealous because now it's my job, so I have to think about if it sells, if it makes enough money for me to do. So I remember the time when I was a kid and making zines just for fun. But I don't want to forget about the feeling. I have to think about money, but also I still try to be as free as possible. So it's hard to keep the balance, but I don't want to do something that I don't want to just for the money.
Yeah.
Right.
Does that come up a lot for you in your work? Do you find you have to like censor yourself or limit your style or your like?
Actually, I don't know. I think I'm lucky. So people who who offer me jobs, they know my style. So they don't tell me to do, like, you have to draw a handsome guy or
Yeah.
or things like
They know
that.
what they're getting into. And they
Yeah. So there are just tiny things, like no blood, or no nipples or things like that. But it's not a problem for me. If I want to draw blood on nipples, I can do it in my comic or paintings anytime. So it doesn't bother me
You're
at
like,
You're
all.
not.
Yeah.
You're like, I won't do it this one
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, I can cover it up. So yeah, I don't have to do what I really don't want to. Sometimes I have to change tiny things, but that is all.
Yeah.
But that's because I'm a weird artist, and my clients know it, so they don't give me unrealistic requests.
Right. I know, it's so interesting. I was just thinking about like all your influences and how you came by them, and I feel like it's such a I feel like not having the internet as your main source of inspiration, like I think it was for me and Leslie, it makes it a lot different. Like things stick in your mind more when you have to like go in person to like a library or a bookshop or a store, and you pick up toys or you open a book. Like to me, for me, I feel like a lot of my image consumption and inspiration came from like Tumblr. So I'd just be scrolling through these thumbnails of images, and maybe something would catch my eye, but I feel like a lot of it kind of just like melted off of me, kind of would just slide off my brain.
It's like saturation, image saturation.
Yeah.
Whereas like when you make the effort to go somewhere or like check out an artist that you really like and kind of like try to understand what you like about their work, then you're kind of being more being less passive about like your consumption. Right.
Yeah, even just reading your books this week, Junko, was like really exciting to have like just like these huge beautiful printed pages, and just be
Yeah.
able to like live in your style and your storytelling, and it was very inspiring. I'm like, man, I could do that too. I could do whatever I wanted.
Yeah, it's like really dramatic, and like it doesn't have to be totally explained. Like it's enough where you like understand what's going on, but you're not like trying too hard to like make people like understand like the point of each story.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I do get influenced by the things I see on the internet a lot. Yeah, I look at the food photos on Instagram, and find the shapes to be interesting. It affects my design. But I don't know. To me, it's really interesting that I grew up without the internet, and now I get a lot of information from internet. And sometimes I wonder how it feels to younger people who grew up with the internet all the time.
Yeah.
But it looks like some younger people they're still interested in doing non-digital painting or drawing, or getting physical books. Maybe it's, I don't know. I really want to know how they feel, because it must be really different. Their brain and my brain are probably very different. Yeah, I don't know.
Do you feel like do you feel like you have like a younger audience, or do you feel like you have like an audience that's more your age? Do you have like a feel for that?
I think I have younger audience, but also recently I hear a lot from the people who used to enjoy my work when they were teenagers. That's what I hear a lot. I think there are people around my age who still appreciate my work, but they are usually busy, raising kids and stuff. So
Right.
I hear more from younger people right now.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to get, Leslie, do you want to get more into pure trance and we can talk a little bit about the story and like...
Yeah, like the themes and stuff.
Yeah.
I guess you can start. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I guess these themes, Junko, your themes kind of like are also, like you were saying, you're really interested in exploring darker themes, and I'm interested in like why those have a draw to you. Like I understand like everyone has like kind of like a primal draw to like pain and death and like power imbalances and stuff, but I'm interested in how you portrayed it. So if you have anything you can share about like your, like why you pursue these darker themes, I'd love to hear it.
I can't get into the I can't go into the details, but I have to say I was not a very happy child. My family had problems, and it was difficult for me to be just happy. I had a lot of things to think about when I was a little kid. I was also a very anxious person. I had a very bad anxiety since I was a kid. So I enjoyed the cute and happy stuff. But I could also relate to darker, creepy comics.
Right.
And
Do you have any... I also don't want to press you to like get too into it if you're not comfortable, so no worries if you don't want to talk about it. We can always veer into other territory, like Pelu territory.
Oh, but it's okay.
Or your favorite horror, or your favorite horror comics too.
Yeah, but I can only say it. I experienced both. I knew there were happy things and dark things in the world. I had to learn that when I was very little.
Right.
And also, since I'm an anxious person, I had to learn. I learned to look at myself objectively. So when I was very anxious and scared, I also looked at myself from the other side and kind of laughed at me for thinking too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it helped me to make stories, or I don't know. My comic is not like the world is the darkest place, and there's no happy things, right? I could see different things from different perspective, and that's because my childhood was a little bit difficult. Yeah, but I'm lucky because I also had a lot of fun things. My sister and I were good friends, and she's always been supportive of my art. So that helped me. So we had a lot of fun creating things.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to have a sibling that likes comics too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have that.
My siblings make fun of me for my comics.
Yeah, so I learned not to be too serious, and to look at things from different sides. Yeah.
Were you gonna say something, Leslie?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, I think having someone advocate for your work, especially at a young age, is really helpful. Um, but yeah, it's cool that you had a sister that was really supportive of your work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's still very supportive. She's raising a kid right now, but in Japan. But I still, like yesterday, I sent her my mask designs and asked which was better, and she always responds really quick.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Such a good sis. Good
Yeah.
sis. That's cool. Yeah, I love pure trance because I love science fiction and horror, and this was like I was like, oh, this is like every single page is like its own story.
Yeah.
So good. And also it's like um there's so much here. Like obviously your work is very focused on like women and their experiences, but I
Mm-hmm.
also love that it's like you have like different levels of how the world treats women. Like you have like this institutional, this like crazy hospital that is like
Yeah.
taking advantage of these women, and then you have like other women in higher positions treating the ones in lower positions poorly and like torturing them.
Power imbalances.
Yeah, there's like eating disorders and like stolen pregnancies. Like it's crazy, but yeah, it's very like nuanced of this sort of experience. So I really like that. I was really
Thank you. But
kind of blown away.
it's also a fantasy, so yeah, not all of it should be taken too seriously. You can just enjoy the weird world,
Yes,
you know,
yeah,
like a really good nightmare or something.
yeah.
A really
Very
interesting
fun
nightmare.
nightmare. um, yeah, I'd love to know. I know you mentioned horror comics and you mentioned a couple influences, but do you have any favorite horror comics that?
Horror comics.
Yeah, or like scary. I don't know.
I used to read a lot of, Kazuo Umezu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I remember my mother didn't want me to have his comic because,
Oh, really?
yeah, she didn't she didn't let me see horror movies. In the 80s, there were so many, like, horror movies with
Yes.
weird creatures, and my
Mm-hmm.
mother thought it was really bad for education.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't even let me see E.T.
Oh.
because she thought it was
Not a
a
horror.
yeah, she thought it was a horror movie, so
That's
I
so
couldn't
funny.
see E.T.
Wow.
Yeah, but I remember I had a friend. She had all the comics of Kazuo Umezu.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
She was so much into it, and I would go to her place and started reading it without
Mm-hmm.
playing with her. We were just reading comics, and it's so powerful. It gives you the real horror, especially
Yeah.
when you're a kid. When you look at his comic now, it feels funny a little bit. If you watch old horror movies, it's scary but
Mm-hmm.
also funny,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? But when I was a kid, his comic was really, really scary. It made me, I don't know, it affected my body. It made my body stiff.
Mm-hmm.
When you're really scary, you get that. So I had a really, I don't know. I remember on the way back home from her place, I was always so like, what did I just read? That was,
Why
and
did you read that?
I would have nightmare. But it was so powerful. It means his comic is really good,
Yeah.
right? And I think I liked it in a way because I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
Yeah,
later,
even today, Drifting Classroom is still scary to
yeah,
me.
Drifting Classroom is really scary.
but later he started making more like science fiction kind of
Hmm.
comics, and it's
Mm-hmm.
great. It's still very powerful. He's one of the artists I respect the most. He's a genius, I think so.
Mm.
I feel like he has a very like his work is very primal. Like it kind of makes me feel like this flight or like fight or flight instinct when I see it sometimes. It's because like when he draws people like scared, they look really really scared. And
Hmm.
it's kind of funny just because it's like he does it so much that it's almost like that's just his icon. It's just like the scared screaming face,
Hmm.
but it's still like you can still feel like the anxiety and the fear. So I think
Yeah,
it's very powerful.
yeah. He's very interesting. He has a I think he has a brain of a child in a good way. It's not like he's like a it's not like he's a child, but you know he still
His,
has the child's purity
Hmm.
mm-hmm.
inside of him.
Yeah.
So yeah, it feels very visceral
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and powerful.
That it reminds me of what's that Shuzo Oshimi book that we just read recently, Leslie? I
Like the
feel like Junko would like it.
Trail of Blood or something. Was it?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Have you heard of that at all, Junko?
What's the name of the
I think
artist?
Shuzo Oshimi. He did.
Uh,
I think his most famous one was Flowers of Evil. I think
Was it like Aku no Hana?
Aku no Hana.
is it
But
new?
it's like
It's new, yeah.
relatively new. Yeah, he's probably in the
He's
last
like
10
still
years.
serializing it.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
kind of has like a lot of like really tense moments where it's not like what's happening isn't scary, but like the feeling is scary.
Hmm.
Like it,
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's interesting. It's like, sometimes you have a dream, and the dream itself is not that scary, but it has this scary feeling.
yeah.
Mhm.
It feels like that with some horror comics.
Yeah. Or just the fear of not understanding what is happening, even if it's not scary or like violent or dangerous. Just it's
Hmm.
so absurd that it's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also, I don't know how old you are, but I grew up in the 70s,
Hmm.
and especially early 70s. Everything felt kind of scary. I don't know. It was
Hmm.
a time the TV commercials. If you see the 70s movies, even if it's a happy movie, it feels kind of dark.
Hmm.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It feels maybe it's the color or the sound. I don't know.
Hmm.
The music, the psychedelic art
Yeah.
that
Mm-hmm.
was popular at that time. It was colorful and bright, but also kind of creepy.
Hmm.
So I think it affected my art too. Because a
Hmm.
kid, I the fact that I was a little girl in the 70s,
Hmm.
it was a weird time. In the 80s, it was happier probably. In the 70s,
Hmm. It's more
you
like
know,
underlying darkness, maybe.
yeah, yeah, that's what I remember.
Hmm. I know I'm trying to think of like prominent like 70s movies, like Japanese movies, and all I can think of is House. I don't know if you've
Oh,
seen
yeah,
that,
yeah,
but that
yeah.
sounds like that sounds like what you're describing to me. Just kind of over the top, but extremely creepy and crazy and
Yeah.
And like nonsense, kind of.
yeah.
Yeah, 70s was like that. Sometimes younger people see some weird animations, Japanese animation on YouTube, and they say like, oh, this is crazy, but it kind of feels normal to me. If you grow up in the 70s, you see a lot of weird things, even on TV.
Yeah, I think I was watching, this is off topic, but I've been watching these cake decorating videos on YouTube. The person is like, they really love like this like vintage like 70s American aesthetic. So everything that they do is like there's so much frosting and colors. But then for some reason all the comments are like, I'm so scared right now. Like I don't know why. Like it's like edited like a horror movie or something. And I'm like, it's interesting that someone that thinks this is like really cute and like normal is being like other people like see them as being really weird and scary.
Yeah, I understand that feeling, and I like it. I don't know.
Yeah. It's like a disconnect between like what you're putting down and what other people are picking up.
Yeah, I know.
Should we talk a little bit about Pelu before we have to wrap up?
Oh yeah, you need to get into
we were
Pelu.
dying over Pelu. Can you tell us like how Pelu came to be and like the themes that you wanted to explore with him?
Okay, so Pelu was a serial comic. It was serialized in a monthly comic. So I had to do 16 pages a month. I also had a lot of different, a lot of other works. So that's why it doesn't look dense as pure Trance, because I had to do it monthly. But for the story, I wanted to do, so I did pure Trance, and I also did fairy tale series.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I made my versions of Cinderella and Hansel and Gretel, and Mermaid. So for Pelu, I wanted to do something very Japanese, like 60s, 70s Japanese kind of thing. And also the story is a little bit like soap opera kind of thing. Some episodes are very kind of cheesy. But with my twist, I wanted to do my version of cheesy Japanese soap opera that my mother used to watch on TV in Pelu.
Yeah.
So it has a nostalgic feeling for me. And also the character is inspired by, Tora-san. It's let me check if it's translated into English. There's this movie series, and the main character is a guy. He's a comedian, and he doesn't have a real job. He just, wandering around in Japan, like selling random stuff on the street. And everywhere he goes, he meets a woman, and he likes her, but he ends up helping. But he ends up helping her, being with other guys, or that kind of sad story. But it's a comedy. It's played by a super famous comedian. He's already dead. Yeah, it's called Otoko wa Tsurai yo, but it's probably
it's tough
not.
being a man.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's tough being a man, but it's a really funny. It's like a nationally famous movie series. I think they made 48 films or something. Wow. Until he dies. Yeah,
That's
he
crazy.
He recently made the 50th movie, but I think he's not in
Wow.
it because he's already dead.
I would
But
hope
it's a
he's
real
not in it.
Oh my god.
yeah. So,
It sounds really funny. I
but
want
Yeah,
to
it does
watch one
sound
every
of
funny.
them.
yeah, it's really funny, and the actors are really good, and it's popular for older people, but I
Mhm.
think it's enjoyable for younger people too. But the story is basically he's awkward with women, so he's super nice, and he likes a woman, and she likes him as a friend.
Yeah. It's always unrequited.
Yeah. So Pelu is kind of inspired by that character. So it's
It's so
very
funny.
it's Showa era of Japan.
Mhm.
That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, he kind of also reminds me of like his mirror, like the mirror that allows him to travel. It kind of reminded me of like Doraemon a little bit, just because
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like why like he has this like amazing power, but he only like all he does is like hang out with like girls he thinks are pretty or like
yeah.
his homeless friend. He like doesn't use it.
Yeah, yeah. The design of the character is inspired by you know the author of Doraemon,
Hmm.
Fujio.
Yeah.
He also did this other comic called Mojako, and Mojako is it looks like Pelu. It's
Oh, yeah.
brown.
He's like
It's
brown.
really yeah. I don't think it's translated into English. It's a really good one. The comic. They made an animation, but
Hmm.
it's the comic is much better. It deals with
Mm.
some darker theme, but the style is the same. But it's a little bit darker, but also
Hmm.
funny.
That looks really
Interesting.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't prepared for how real the like feelings were gonna be with Pelu. Like Pelu was like so desperate to find companionship and like have a child. And I was like, okay,
Yeah,
this
it's
is
like a
pretty silly. And then I was like, oh gosh, like he's like trying. He's like, I need to rent an apartment. Like I need my own car. Like all these like real stressful things that I also think about. And I'm like,
it's
oh
like
man,
real like
I get
coming
you,
of
Pelu.
age, real life like problems.
Yeah.
I know it's also part of him is like me.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
especially when I was a teenager, I'm very short. I'm just 4'10",
Oh
Hmm.
wow. Hmm.
and I was chubby, and I was treated like a clown all the time,
Hmm.
both by girls and boys.
Hmm.
So they didn't hate me. They didn't mean to bully me probably, but I was not happy with them treating me like a weird cartoon character. You know,
Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
every time I do something, they laugh at me and say, "Oh, you look funny doing that."
Oh my gosh.
So of course
I feel that.
I couldn't be in a relationship because I was basically like a clown. So
Mhm.
I remembered that time when I was making the story. So so that's why it's kind of real. you know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real feeling I used to have as a teenager.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. Just like he can't. He tries his best to like come off like cool and charming, but no matter what he
Yeah.
does, he's still just like the cute cotton puff to them.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Pelu.
It's
And
so
then I really love
tragic.
his. It's so tragic. And I love his like homeless friend. What is his name again?
Susan.
Susan.
Susan
Susan,
is so
yeah.
sad.
It's so sad. I was reading like the end of volume 2 and I was like, what? Susan's
Oh,
dead.
Yeah.
But
I was like, I didn't know I cared about Susan so much until he was gone, and then it
yeah.
was too late.
Yeah, there's a volume 3 we are trying to translate into English.
Hmm.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I hope it will happen soon.
I hope Pelu gets married finally.
I don't know.
RERUN suffers for all eternity in a
I don't
funny
want
way.
Yeah. Embarrassing and funny.
Yeah, I really need to
Pelu.
work on that. Yeah, I have to talk with Last Gasp.
I know that was so. They sent us comp copies, which was so nice of them, and they're so beautiful.
Yeah, I love the
Mhm.
books.
Yeah, I like Last Gasp. I like working with them.
Yeah, they're really good. Since we're close to, well, we're getting over an hour. Do you want to what can we end on? I guess I'm interested in like um how you feel you've been received, like in comparison to like your Japanese audiences. How have like English speaking audiences like received your work?
It's very different. I think it's changing in Japan too, but basically Japan is all about, you know, cuteness,
Hmm.
and they can get really superficial
Mm.
until you explain to them. So when they see my work, they're like, "Oh, it's cute and creepy. I like it."
Hmm.
They keep saying "kawaii, kawaii,"
Mhm.
But I was surprised when I started publishing my comics here, because if you see the Amazon review, there are so many people, you know, writing about their thoughts for the story.
Mm.
Mhm.
So it's very different and interesting.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but in Japan, if you tell them, if you give them some ideas, like this is not only about cuteness and creepiness,
Hmm.
there are a lot more in it. They start thinking about it, and I think it's changing right now because of Twitter.
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
People, especially women started thinking more about feminism and stuff,
Mhm.
because they can be anonymous. If they talk
Yeah.
about feminism, they get
Hmm.
bashed sometimes, but
Right.
when they're anonymous, they can be really like tough. Sometimes they can
Mhm.
get
Hmm.
really nasty,
Yeah.
complaining about men. It's really funny. But so I think it's changing now. So the next comic I'm doing is for Japanese audience. I'm thinking
Mhm.
about making a book, publishing a book in
Hmm.
Japan for the first time
Oh,
in
that's exciting.
like 15 years or something. So I'm really looking forward to see how they react now.
Like if the attitude has
That's very cool.
changed. That's
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes me. It reminds me of Do you know? Her name is Megumi Igarashi.
Hmm.
She goes by Roku Denashiko.
Oh,
Do
yeah,
you know
yeah,
her,
yeah.
Leslie?
Yeah, I
Mhm.
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know her. She was very popular. I know Koyama Press published her book
Mhm.
a couple
Mhm.
years ago, and it was interesting to hear her perspective on how like women's work and like obscenity in art.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
that's interesting to hear from you that is also that it's changing for the better, and like
Hmm.
the
I
response
hope
to your
so.
work is getting richer and people are appreciating it more.
Yeah, I know. I can tell there are more women who who there are more women who want to change things in Japan.
Hmm.
It's going very slowly, but it's definitely changing. I talk
Hmm.
uh, with my friends in Japan who are editors and writers, and they all talk about that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So it's gonna be interesting, I think.
Yeah, hopefully like more discussion about like women's art becomes like more mainstream and
Yeah,
women feel more comfortable talking about it too.
yeah. I'm
Making
worried
uncomfortable
about
things.
I'm worried about Japanese girls
Hmm.
obsessed too much about being cute. All they think about
Mm.
is being cute. Am I cute enough? Oh,
Hmm.
I'm not cute. I'm so sad. But so yeah, I don't know. I feel complicated sometimes because some of them tell me that I want to look like your character, but
Yeah.
it's a drawing, you know.
Hmm.
I don't want real people to look like my characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if they want to be powerful like my character, that makes me happy.
Hmm.
Mm.
But if they want to have a surgery to have big eyes or big boobs, that's not what I want. What I want
Yeah.
them to do. So
Yeah, that it kind of reminds me like my friend um I was on Twitter and my friend was like retweeting this like Japanese girls magazine, so it's like probably elementary school,
mhm.
and they were like they were like, oh, this is crazy, just because like all the pages were like, how do you like talk to boys or like get a boyfriend, or
Yeah,
like how do
I
you do like
know.
this kind of makeup, which is like I like all those things too, but like if I was 10 and I had to like
Mhm.
see that and like be exposed to that and like think that that
Yeah,
was normal, then I feel like I would feel even more self-conscious, which is bad.
I know. Yeah,
Mm.
it's all about being liked, being cute,
Hmm.
being accepted.
Mm.
But also now there are more people who are against it and who talk about it.
Hmm.
So I think it's going to change. For now,
Mm.
it's still older guys, you know, who run the publishing companies, you know, who
Mm.
make TV shows. So they still have the old ideas, but now people are getting to realize that, you know, that it shouldn't be like that anymore.
Hmm.
Mm.
So I think it's gonna be different in the next 10 years or something. I hope so. I have a little niece, so I don't want her to be like thinking only about looking cute and young.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Trapped in the cute vortex.
Mhm. But
Like be
I
more like
like,
cute Hayashida's art. Like just be like very scratchy and have like have like eye bags and smudges.
Yeah.
yeah, I know. I mean, I like cute stuff, cute designs,
Hmm.
but I don't like the idea that women should be young and cute all the time.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah, that's something I think about too, is like how much of the work I'm making portrays like my ideals, or like what it has been impressed on me to be ideal. So I feel like I'm always grappling that with that, especially when it comes to like body image.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Like it could be easy to like just draw a body really quickly, like a very like athletic, appealing, traditionally appealing body, but then I'm like, that's not necessarily like what I want or how I want to approach it. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's always something I'm conflicted about
I
for sure.
know. I try
Yeah, I
not to.
think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I try not to think too much about it. Also,
Hmm.
yeah. Sometimes my girls have really thick uh, arms and unrealistically big hands and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But it's just style. So, you know, not everything has to be realistic.
But I got a hand inflation surgery because I'm obsessed with big hands. I know, it's like how much is our responsibility to like, like create a fair or like inclusive image, and how much of it is just like people just need to work within themselves to understand that they can't just, that they need to undo this ideal. It's not like our responsibility to do that, but
yeah, like I think there's a bit of both. Like I think you can think about that, and it's important to, and it can be more interesting if you allow that to come through in your work. But I don't think that automatically doing that just because other people are saying, oh, you only draw like this type of body or whatever ideal bodies, I don't think that not doing that makes it more interesting, if that makes sense. It's like it doesn't automatically make it like meaningful to me.
Right.
And it's like I grew up with a lot of comics, like watching TV, like anime, so it's not like I was never exposed to that. I obviously like it influences people, but I never looked at like a drawing and was like, I wish I looked like that. So maybe that's like what's different about me and like other people.
Yeah, I know. It's not just comics or animations, There's also education to make kids feel comfortable with themselves. Like you don't have to be I don't know, it's hard to explain.
No, that's true.
Right.
Like I feel like that's the whole thing in the US right now with representation in like all forms of media.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people would just be like, they'll throw in like a Black character or a queer character and that's enough. But because then that's like people look to media as like their main form of like education and like to learn about experiences of other people, when it needs to be like
the news
either from
like,
those people or from first person experience in whatever literature or like you're saying in education. Like it needs to be very it's very
like people shouldn't be learning about relationships necessarily like through like soap operas or something, like it's like this like magnified version of what really happens. And it's also like kind of like more romantic, I guess. But I wouldn't say like, oh, I watched like the soap opera and because like this character got pregnant like from this or that, like I'm gonna do that same thing. Like I think you kind of have to look at it in a way where you're like, okay, that's like fiction.
Yeah, that's the important thing. We just need to teach kids that the fiction and the reality, it's a different thing. So you don't have to look like cartoon characters. You don't have to have the same relationship as the movie characters.
Yeah, it's like they're slowly trying to use pop culture as the main form of education. And I mean, I guess that's kind of like US centric as well because our education system is so bad. So it makes sense. But yeah, that's super interesting. Leslie, do you have any last questions before we let Junko go?
I feel like we covered a lot of good ground. Like
Yeah, totally.
So I think...
Junko, do you have... Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Leslie.
Oh, no. You go ahead.
Do you have anything to like plug, Junko? Do you want to tell us about you said you have a show coming up in October?
Oh, yeah. And also, my face mask will be available very soon.
Nice.
Once the internet is connected to my iMac.
Awesome. And where can we buy face masks? On your website or?
Yeah, it will be on threadless.com.
Okay.
But it's gonna be announced on my website and Instagram. Just go to my website. Everything is on there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yay. Well, thank you, Junko. It was so awesome to talk to you about your work.
Thank you so much.
We love your comics and art so much. So this was awesome.
Really fun. Thank you.
Thank you. It's great to talk with you. I don't want to go back to the reality and work with the internet connection.
It's a nice little break from real problems.
Well, hopefully we can meet you in person once lockdown ends at a convention someday in the future. It'd be nice to meet you.
Yeah.
In real life.
Yeah. Yeah. I really wanted to go to Vancouver. So
Oh
sad.
yeah.
I know, it would have been so nice.
Yeah.
I love Vancouver.
I really miss traveling right now. Like just like
Me
I'm so
too.
sick of being in my house, but it's okay. Do you have any like do you want to plug your social media or anything or
So my
before we
website
go?
is mizunojunko.com, but if you search my name, it just comes up. And
Okay.
I have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, but it's the links are all on my website, so you can just go there and find out.
Nice.
Awesome.
Well, you can find the podcast at Salt and Honey Pod on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
You can find me, Leslie, at Leslie Hung on Twitter and at Dairy Free on Instagram. Sloane.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm at sloanesloan.com, at sloanesloan on Twitter, and Sloane Young on Instagram.
Okay.
Yay.
Yay!
Thank you so much, Junko. It was really
Thank
nice having
you.
you.
Thank you.